Mommy! Daddy!
The scream tore through the Okafor household at 3:17 a.m., sharp and primal. Chioma jolted awake, her heart already racing before her mind caught up. Beside her, Kenna was already throwing off the covers, his feet hitting the floor. They found 7-year-old Amara pressed against the wall farthest from her dresser, her small body trembling violently. Her right hand clutched something small and white, a tooth. Baby, what happened? Chioma knelt beside her daughter, checking for injuries, for blood, for anything that could explain the terror in those wide eyes. I woke up and my tooth was on my pillow, Amara stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. It was loose yesterday, remember? At dinner? And it must have come out while I was sleeping. Okay, that's okay, Kenna said soothingly. That's normal, sweetheart. Your adult teeth need room to grow. I know, Daddy, I know. I was happy about it. I wanted to see the gap in my smile, so I went to the mirror. Her voice trailed off, and her gaze fixed on the dresser mirror across the room with such intensity that both parents instinctively turned to look. The mirror reflected only their tired faces and Amara's toy-scattered room bathed in the soft glow of her nightlight. What did you see, Amara? Chioma asked gently. Me. I saw me. But Amara's breath hitched. But she wasn't doing what I was doing. When I smiled to see the gap, she didn't smile. She just stood there, staring. And then she did smile, but Mommy, I wasn't smiling anymore. I was scared, but she kept smiling, wider, and her eyes were wrong. Kenna and Chioma exchanged a glance, the kind of silent communication that came with 12 years of marriage. The look said, nightmare, just a nightmare. Honey, Chioma pulled Amara into her arms. You were probably still half asleep. You know how sometimes when we first wake up, everything feels weird and dreamy. Your mind was playing tricks. I was awake. I felt the tooth with my tongue. I walked across the cold floor. I turned on the lamp. I was awake, Mommy. Okay. Kenna moved to the mirror, examining it. He made faces at his reflection, waved his arms. Everything moved as it should. See? Just a normal mirror. It must have been the way the light was hitting it. Shadows can look strange at night. But Amara wasn't convinced. She stared at that mirror like it was a venomous snake coiled in the corner. Can I sleep in your room tonight? She asked in a small voice. They let her, of course. She curled up between them, the tooth still clutched in her fist. Chioma stayed awake long after Kenna's breathing deepened into sleep, long after Amara's trembling finally stopped. Something about her daughter's fear had felt too visceral, too specific. But when morning came and Amara bounded downstairs asking about the tooth fairy money, the night's terror seemed to have evaporated with the darkness. Children were resilient like that, Chioma thought. Thank God. She was wrong. That evening, as Amara brushed her teeth before bed, she kept her eyes fixed on the sink, wouldn't look up at the bathroom mirror. Amara, you're getting toothpaste everywhere, Chioma said. Look up, baby. I don't want to. Why not? Just don't want to. Chioma sighed. You're not still worried about last night, are you? That was just a dream, sweetheart. It wasn't a dream. Amara, can I brush my teeth in the kitchen instead, please? Chioma's patience was wearing thin. No, you cannot. You're a big girl. There's nothing in the mirror except your own reflection. Now look up and rinse your mouth properly. Reluctantly, Amara raised her eyes. For a moment, everything was normal. Her small face covered in toothpaste foam, her missing tooth creating a dark gap in her smile. Then she froze. In the mirror, her reflection's eyes had shifted, not moved with her, but shifted independently, looked directly at her with an intensity that made Amara's stomach drop. She spun around, toothpaste spraying everywhere, and ran from the bathroom. Amara Okafor, Chioma called after her. Get back here right now. But Amara was already in her room, door shut, pressed once again as far from her dresser mirror as possible. When Chioma entered, ready to discipline her daughter for the mess and the defiance, she found Amara crying silently, tears streaming down her cheeks. "She's in all the mirrors," Amara whispered. "Not just mine, she's everywhere." Chioma's frustration melted into concern. She sat on the bed, pulling Amara close. "Baby, I think you might be getting sick. Sometimes when we have a fever, we see things that aren't there. Let me check your temperature." "I'm not sick, Mommy. I know what I saw." "Amara, listen to me. Mirrors only show reflections. They can't hurt you. There's no other you in there." "Then why did she move differently?" "She didn't. Your tired brain made you think she did." "Why won't you believe me?" Amara's voice cracked with desperation. "Because what you're describing isn't possible, sweetheart. I know it felt real to you, but sometimes our minds play tricks, especially when we're tired or scared." "I'm not sick, Mummy. I know what I saw." "Amara, listen to me. Mirrors only show reflections. They can't hurt you. There's no other you in there." "Then why did she move differently?" "She didn't. Your tired brain made you think she did." "Why won't you believe me?" Amara's voice cracked with desperation. "Because what you're describing isn't possible, sweetheart. I know it felt real to you, but sometimes our minds play tricks, especially when we're tired or scared." Amara pulled away from her mother, her small face set with a stubbornness Chioma recognized. It was the same expression Kene wore when he'd made up his mind about something. "Fine," Amara said quietly. "I'm just imagining it." But she wasn't, and Chioma would later remember this moment with crushing guilt, the moment she chose logic over instinct, science over her daughter's fear. That night, Kenny covered Amara's dresser mirror with a bedsheet at her insistence. "Just for tonight," he said. "Tomorrow, we're taking this sheet down, and you're going to see there's nothing to be afraid of. Deal?" Amara nodded, but she didn't mean it. She lay in bed, staring at the covered mirror, watching for any movement beneath the sheet. At 2:47 a.m., she'd been checking her clock compulsively. She heard it. Tap, tap, tap. Soft, rhythmic, coming from behind the sheet. Her heart hammered so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. The tapping stopped. Silence stretched out, thick and suffocating. Then the sheet began to move. Not falling, that would have been explicable, a matter of gravity and poor draping. This was different. The sheet pushed outward, like something was pressing against it from behind, from inside the mirror. A bulge formed in the fabric, then another, like fingers, like hands. Amara tried to scream, but her voice had abandoned her. She could only watch in frozen horror as the sheet slowly, inexorably began to slip. It fell away completely. The mirror showed her room, but wrong. The colors were desaturated, gray and lifeless like an old photograph. And standing in the reflected doorway was the girl, the other Amara. She looked identical in every way except one. Her eyes were completely black. No whites, no iris, just endless, hungry darkness. The other Amara smiled and raised her hand. She waved. This time, Amara's voice worked. Her scream brought her parents running, brought her 12-year-old brother Chidi stumbling groggily into the hallway, brought the dog barking and the house into chaos. They found her in the corner again, her new usual spot. "The mirror," she sobbed. "The sheet fell and she was there. She waved at me. She's trying to get out." Kine examined the sheet on the floor, then the mirror. Their own sleepy reflection stared back. "Honey, the sheet just wasn't secured well. It slipped off." "She pushed it off from the inside." "Amara, that's not possible. Why won't you listen to me?" Her cry was so anguished that even Chidi looked uncomfortable. Chioma knelt beside her daughter. "We are listening, baby. But what you're describing, it breaks every law of physics, of reality. Mirrors don't work that way. I know what I saw. What you think you saw. What I saw. The next day, Chioma made an appointment with their pediatrician. Dr. Adeyemi examined Amara thoroughly. Temperature, reflexes, eyes, ears, everything checked out normal. She's physically healthy, Dr. Adeyemi said, but children Amara's age can have very vivid imaginations. Night terrors are common. Has anything stressful happened recently? Changes at school? Problems with friends? Nothing, Chioma said. Everything's been normal. Sometimes these phases pass on their own. Keep a consistent bedtime routine, maybe a nightlight if she's afraid of the dark. If it continues for more than a few weeks, we can discuss a referral to a child psychologist. Amara sat silently through all this, her face expressionless. They didn't believe her. No one believed her. She was alone with this. That afternoon, while her parents were busy with housework, Amara covered every mirror she could reach in the house. The bathroom mirror, the hallway mirror, even the small decorative mirror in the living room. She used towels, bed sheets, even taped paper over her mother's makeup compact. When Chioma discovered what she'd done, her patience finally snapped. Amara, enough! This has gone too far. You cannot keep disrupting this entire household because of a bad dream. It's not a dream. Then what is it? Magic? Ghosts? Monsters? Those things aren't real. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it isn't real. They were both yelling now, faces flushed. Kine had a step between them. Everyone calm down, he said firmly. Amara, I know you believe what you're telling us, but you have to understand how this sounds to us. We're adults. We know mirrors are just glass and silver. They reflect light, that's all. They can't contain other people or other worlds. She looks like me, Amara said, her voice dropping to barely a whisper. But she's not me. She's something else. And she wants out. She wants to trade places. Chioma felt a chill despite herself. Trade places? I don't know how I know, but I do. She wants my life. She wants to be real. Kine rubbed his face, exhausted. Amara, I'm going to say this once more, and I need you to really hear me. There is nothing in the mirrors. You're safe. We will keep you safe. But this fear is in your head, and you have to let it go. Amara looked at her father, then her mother, then her brother standing awkwardly in the doorway. She saw it in their eyes. They thought she was crazy, hysterical, imagining things. Okay, she said finally. You're right, I'm sorry. I'll stop. But she was lying, because that night, something happened that changed everything. Amara was reading in bed at 6:30 p.m., trying to distract herself, when she saw it. In the darkened screen of her tablet, a reflection appeared. Not her room, but Chidi's room down the hall. In the reflection, she saw Chidi reach for the glass of water on his nightstand. The glass was too close to the edge. It tipped. Water spilled everywhere, soaking his homework. She blinked, and the vision was gone. Her tablet showed only her own face reflected in the black screen. Seconds later, she heard Chidi shout, "No, no, no, my homework!" Amara's blood ran cold. She crept to his door and peeked in. Water was spreading across his desk, his math homework dissolving into a soggy mess. How did that happen? Chioma asked, appearing with a towel. I don't know. I just reached for it and knocked it over. Amara backed away slowly, her mind racing. She'd seen it before it happened, seen it in the reflection. The next morning, while brushing her teeth in the kitchen sink, she still refused to use the bathroom. She glanced at the toaster. Its chrome surface caught her reflection, and for just a moment, she saw something else. Her father, in his car, reaching for his ringing phone, not looking at the road. A car stopping suddenly ahead of him. The shriek of brakes. "Dad!" she screamed, dropping her toothbrush and running to the garage. Dad, don't look at your phone while you're driving. Promise me. Kine was just getting into his car, running late for work. What? Amara, I don't have time. Promise me, please. Something in her desperate tone made him pause. Okay, I promise. Phone stays in my pocket. Happy? She nodded, breathless. Later that evening, Kine came home shaken. You won't believe what happened today. I was driving to work, and the car in front of me stopped suddenly. Someone ran a red light, nearly caused a massive accident. If I'd been distracted for even a second, looking at my phone or changing the radio, I would have rear-ended them. Chioma's hand went to her mouth. Oh my God. I know. After Amara made me promise this morning, it's like she knew. He laughed nervously. Weird coincidence, right? But Amara knew it wasn't a coincidence. She'd seen it, in the reflection. She'd seen it happen before it did. The visions came more frequently after that, in windows and polished surfaces, in any reflective material. Brief glimpses of moments that hadn't happened yet, but would, usually within minutes or hours. She saw her mother burn her hand on the stove and warned her just in time. She saw Chidi trip on his untied shoelace and reminded him to tie it. She saw the neighbor's cat escape through the gate and caught it before it could run into the street. Her family began to notice. How did you know I was about to burn myself? Chioma asked, bewildered, pulling her hand back from the hot pan handle. I just had a feeling. Some feeling. You've had a lot of those lately. It was Chidi who finally connected the dots. He'd been watching his sister closely, noticing how her eyes would glaze over for a split second before she'd suddenly shout a warning or rush to prevent something. One evening, he caught her staring at the darkened TV screen, her face pale. You see them, he said quietly. Things before they happen. Amara's eyes snapped to him. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. You've been seeing things. In the mirrors and reflections. That's why you covered them all. That's why you freaked out. He moved closer, his voice dropping. It's real, isn't it? Whatever you saw. Tears welled in Amara's eyes. You believe me? Show me. She hesitated and nodded toward the TV screen. Look at your reflection. Really look. Sometimes it shows you things. Chidi approached the black screen cautiously. For a long moment, he saw nothing but his own nervous face. Then the image rippled, shifted, and he saw herself, but in his bedroom, not the living room. In the vision, he opened his closet and something fell from the top shelf, barely missing his head. He jerked back from the screen. What was that? The future, I think, or possible futures, things that might happen. This is insane. I know. They stared at each other, and for the first time since this nightmare began, Amara didn't feel completely alone. We need to tell Mom and Dad, Chidi said. They won't believe it. We'll make them believe. But before they could, Amara gasped. In the TV screen, a new vision was forming. This one was different, longer, more detailed. She saw herself in her room, standing before her dresser mirror at 3 a.m. exactly. She saw herself reach out and touch the glass. She saw the surface ripple, and she saw the other Amara, the one with black eyes, reach back. Their hands met, and they began to switch places. Amara watched in horror as her reflected self was pulled into the mirror, screaming silently, while the black-eyed doppelganger emerged into the real world, wearing her face, stealing her life. What did you see? Chidi grabbed her shoulders. Amara, what did you see? I saw what she wants, Amara whispered. The girl in the mirror. I saw what happens if I touch the glass at 3 a.m. We trade. She becomes me, and I become her. Trapped. Then we don't let you near any mirrors at 3 a.m. Simple. It's not simple. She's getting stronger. The visions are getting stronger. I think she's doing it, showing me the future through reflections. She's trying to lure me in. Why would showing you what happens make you want to touch the mirror? I don't know. Maybe it's not about wanting to. Maybe it's about fate. Maybe I've already seen it happen, so it has to happen. That's not how time works, Amara. The future isn't set. How do you know? He didn't have an answer for that. That night, they told their parents everything. The visions, the warnings that came true, the girl in the mirror. They expected dismissal, but something had shifted. Too many of Amara's feelings had been accurate. Too many near misses had been avoided by her warnings. "Show us," Kane said finally. They gathered in the living room. Amara stared at the TV screen, waiting. For several long minutes, nothing happened. Then, "Mom, move away from the window, now." "What? Why?" "Move." Chioma stepped back just as something crashed into the window, a bird flying full speed, confused by the reflection of the sky in the glass. It hit hard enough to crack the pane, then fluttered away, dazed but alive. The family stood in stunned silence. "You saw that," Kane said slowly. "Before it happened, you saw it." Amara nodded. "In the TV screen?" Another nod. Chioma sank onto the couch, her worldview crumbling. "How is this possible?" "It started after I saw the girl in the mirror," Amara said. "The other me. I think she's connected to me somehow, through the reflections. And now I can see through them too, see things that haven't happened yet." "What does she want?" Chioma asked. "To be real, to not be trapped anymore." "Trapped where?" "I don't know exactly. Somewhere behind the mirrors, between them maybe. There's a place there where reflections live, and she wants out." Kane paced the room, his engineering mind trying to make sense of the impossible. Okay, let's say this is all real. Let's say there's something in the mirrors, something that looks like you and wants to switch places. How do we stop it? I don't know. The visions you have, can you control them? Can you see further ahead? I don't think so. They just happen, and they're getting more frequent, stronger. "What was the last thing you saw?" Chioma asked. "Before the bird." Amara hesitated. Should she tell them? Would it make it more likely to happen or less? "Tell us, Amara," Kane said gently. "We believe you now. We're going to help you, but we need to know everything." So she told them about the vision of 3 a.m., about touching the mirror, about the switch. When she finished, the room was silent except for the ticking of the clock on the wall. "Then we make sure you're never near a mirror at 3 a.m., Chioma said firmly. "We remove every mirror from the house, every reflective surface." "It won't be enough," Amara said quietly. "Windows reflect, water reflects, even puddles on the ground. I can't avoid all reflections." "Then we stay with you every night, all of us. We'll take shifts if we have to. We won't let you near any mirrors at that time." It seemed like a plan, a good plan. But that night, despite their vigilance, despite their determination, something went wrong. At 2:45 a.m., Amara woke with a start. She wasn't in her bed. She was standing in the bathroom, in the dark, facing the mirror that they'd somehow forgotten to remove. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no." She tried to move, to run, but her body wouldn't obey. Her feet were rooted to the tile floor. Her arm began to lift, not by her choice, but by something else's will. "Mom," she tried to scream, but only a whisper emerged. "Dad, Chidi." The clock on the wall ticked closer to 3 a.m. Her hand inched toward the glass. In the reflection, the other Amara smiled with those bottomless black eyes. At 2:58, she heard footsteps thundering up the stairs, her family finally realizing she was gone. At 2:59, they burst through the bathroom door. At 3, her fingertip touched the mirror. The world exploded in sensation, cold, heat, pressure, weightlessness. She was being pulled in 2 directions at once, forward into the glass, backward into her father's arms as he grabbed her waist and yanked. For one horrible, infinite moment, she was in both places at once. She saw her family's terrified faces. She saw the gray, lifeless world behind the mirror. She saw the other Amara reaching through, grasping, desperate. She saw countless other children trapped in that space, between reflections, dozens, maybe hundreds of them, all reaching out, all screaming silently. Then something shifted. The pull reversed. Instead of being dragged into the mirror, she was shoved violently backward. She and her father tumbled to the floor. The mirror cracked, a single line right down the center. And in that crack, for just a moment, Amara saw the truth. The girl in the mirror wasn't trying to replace her. She was her, or had been. In some other timeline, some other possibility, another version of Amara had looked in the mirror at 3 a.m. and had been pulled through. That Amara had been trapped, transformed by the space between reflections into something else, something hungry to return. And she'd been reaching across realities, across possibilities, trying to undo what had happened to her. "I'm sorry," Amara whispered to her reflection, to her other self. "I'm so sorry." The crack in the mirror spread, spiderwebbing across the surface. And in each fragment, Amara saw different versions of herself, all the possible Amaras who'd touched the glass, who'd been trapped, who'd become the thing she'd been running from. "We have to destroy it," Kine said, his voice shaking. "All the mirrors, every single one." But Chioma was staring at the fractured reflection, her face pale. "Wait, look." In the largest shard, they could see not the black-eyed doppelganger, but the trapped children, all of them pressed against the glass, pointing. They were pointing at something in the reflection of the bathroom behind the Okafor family. Slowly, they turned. There, on the wall they'd all walked past 100 times, was a small, old mirror. Not the main bathroom mirror they'd been so fixated on, but a tiny antique mirror that had hung there for so long it had become invisible to them. This mirror was different. Even in the dim light, they could see how old it was. The glass slightly wavy, the silver backing tarnished. And in its reflection, the world looked wrong. Too sharp, too clear, too real. "That's the original," Amara breathed. "That's the doorway, the first mirror." "The first mirror to what?" Chidi asked. "To the between place, where they're all trapped." Kine approached it slowly. Up close, he could see something scratched into the wooden frame, words in a language he didn't recognize, worn almost smooth by age. "Where did we get this?" he wondered aloud. "It was here when we moved in," Chioma said. "The previous owners left it. I thought it was a nice vintage piece." "How long have we lived here?" Amara asked, though she already knew the answer. 7 years, Chioma said, "since just before you were born." 7 years. The same age as Amara, the same age as her connection to the mirror world. "It's been watching me my whole life," Amara realized, "waiting for me to get old enough, for my reflection to become strong enough." Strong enough for what? Before anyone could answer, all the lights in the house went out. In the darkness, the old mirror began to glow, a soft, sickly green light that cast everything in an otherworldly hue. And in that light, they saw them, all of them. The trapped children, dozens of them, crowding against the glass from the other side. All ages, all appearing to be from different time periods based on their clothes. Some looked Victorian, some looked even older. "How long has this been happening?" Chioma whispered in horror. One of the children in the mirror, a boy who looked about 10, wearing clothes from perhaps the 1950s, pressed his hand against the glass. His mouth moved, forming words they couldn't hear. Amara stepped closer, trying to read his lips. "He's saying, 'The collector.'" "What collector?" The boy's hand moved, pointing, not at them, but past them, behind them. They turned to look at the main bathroom mirror, the cracked one, and in each fractured piece, they now saw not our own reflections, but something else. A figure, tall, too tall, with elongated limbs and a face that was almost human, but not quite. Its features shifted every time they tried to focus on it, like looking at something through moving water. "That's not possible," Kine said. "That's not in the room with us. It's just in the reflection." The overhead light flickered back on. The figure was standing in the bathroom with them. They could see it both in reality and reflected in every shard of the broken mirror, a horror that existed in both worlds simultaneously. "You've been resistant," it said, its voice like wind through empty buildings. "Most children touch the glass within days of noticing their independence, but you fought, struggled, made this so much more difficult than it needed to be." "What are you?" Kine demanded, pushing his family behind him. "I am what watches, what waits, what collects." The creature tilted its head at an unnatural angle. "Every child who looks too long at their reflection, who stares too deeply into the glass, creates a doorway, a possibility. And I step through to add them to my collection." "The children in the mirrors," you said, "you put them there." "I preserve them, perfect, unchanging, forever young, forever watching, forever reflected." It's a kindness, really. The real world breaks children, changes them, but in the glass, they remain pristine. "You're insane," Chioma breathed. "I am eternal. I have been collecting since the first polished surface, the first still pool of water that showed humanity their own faces. Do you know what happens when you stare at yourself too long? When you fixate on your reflection? You create a twin, a shadow self. And that self needs somewhere to live." It gestured to the old mirror. "Some mirrors are better at housing them than others. This one has been my gateway for, centuries now. Passed from owner to owner, hanging forgotten on walls, waiting." "Why Amara?" Kine's voice shook with barely controlled rage. "She's 7 years old." 7 is the perfect age, old enough to be self-aware, to recognize their own reflection, young enough to still believe in magic, in impossible things, young enough to be curious about the girl in the glass who moves differently. The collector's gaze, if it could be called that, fixed on Amara. "You were supposed to touch the mirror weeks ago. The others did, they always do. But you resisted, fought, and in fighting you opened yourself to the space between. You gained the sight, the ability to see through reflections across time." "That wasn't supposed to happen?" Amara asked. "No, you were supposed to touch, to trade, to slip into my collection while your reflected self took your place in the world. A simple exchange. But your resistance created a tether. You're connected to the mirror world without being in it, an anomaly. So take it back," Chidi said suddenly. "Take away her sight and leave her alone." The collector laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "I cannot. The connection, once formed, cannot be broken. She will see through reflections forever now, and every reflection will see her." "Then we destroy the mirror, the doorway. We destroy it and you can't reach her." "There are other mirrors, other doorways. I am patient. I am inevitable." "No," Amara said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. She was staring at the old mirror, at the trapped children pressing against the glass. "Child, you need the mirrors, need them to exist between worlds. That's why you collect us, because you're not fully real in either place. You exist in reflections. You are reflection. And reflections." She picked up a piece of the broken bathroom mirror, holding the shard carefully. "Reflections can be broken." "Amara, don't," Chioma started, but Amara was already moving. She thrust the shard into the old mirror. The effect was instantaneous and catastrophic. The mirror didn't just crack, it shattered into 1,000 pieces, each piece reflecting something different. Some showed the trapped children. Some showed the collector, screaming as its form began to fracture. Some showed other places, other times, other collections. The collector lurched toward Amara, but Kine threw himself in its path. The creature's hand, if it could be called a hand, passed through him like cold smoke, but it was enough to slow it down. Chidi grabbed another piece of broken mirror and smashed it into the old mirror's frame. Chioma joined in, using her fists to break the ancient wood. The collector was coming apart, its form splitting into multiple reflections that didn't quite line up. "No," it howled. "No, I am eternal. You're nothing," Amara said, and drove her shard through the mirror's center. The world went white. When their vision cleared, the old mirror was gone, not just broken, but gone. Only a pale rectangle on the wall showed where it had hung. The collector had vanished, and the bathroom was silent except for their ragged breathing. "Is it over?" Chidi asked. "I don't know," Amara said, but when she looked at the remaining shards of the broken bathroom mirror, she saw only her own face looking back. No black eyes, no other Amara, just herself. She moved her hand. Her reflection moved identically. "I think so," she whispered. They spent the rest of the night cleaning up the broken glass, none of them willing to go back to sleep. As dawn broke, painting the sky pink and gold, Chioma made them all tea, and they sat in the kitchen processing what had happened. "The other children," Amara said suddenly, "the ones who were trapped, where did they go?" No one had an answer. Over the next few days, they discovered something strange. Reports started appearing in the news, across the country, across the world. Children showing up, confused and lost. Children who claimed to have been missing for years, decades, even centuries, but who looked exactly as they had the day they vanished. Children who insisted they'd been trapped in mirrors, in reflections, in a gray place between worlds. Most people thought it was mass hysteria, some kind of elaborate hoax. But Amara knew better. Breaking the original mirror, the collector's primary doorway, had broken all of them, had released everyone the creature had ever trapped. "You freed them," Chioma said, watching the news with tears in her eyes. "All of them." "We freed them," Amara corrected. "We all did it together." Life slowly returned to normal, or as normal as it could be. They replaced the broken bathroom mirror. Amara could look at her reflection now without fear. It was just her, moving as she moved, smiling when she smiled. But the visions remained. Not as strong, not as frequent, but still there. Brief glimpses in reflective surfaces, moments of future or past or possibility. The connection to the mirror world, the collector had said, could not be broken once formed. At first, Amara hated it. She wanted to be normal again, to look at mirrors and see only mirrors. But gradually, she began to understand it differently. One afternoon, 3 months after the incident, she was walking home from school when she saw something in a puddle. A vision of a car running the red light at the next intersection. A woman starting to cross the street, about to be hit. Amara ran. She reached the woman just as the light changed, just as the woman stepped off the curb and grabbed her arm. "Wait!" Amara shouted. The woman turned, confused and slightly annoyed. "Young lady, what?" The car blew through the red light, horn blaring, exactly where the woman would have been standing. The woman stared in shock, then looked down at Amara with wide eyes. "How did you saved my life." Amara just smiled. "Be careful crossing streets," she said, and continued walking home. That night, she looked at herself in her bedroom mirror, the new one, clean and uncracked. Her reflection looked back, moving exactly as she moved. Normal, safe. "Thank you," she whispered, unsure who she was thanking. Her other self, perhaps? The one who'd been trapped, who tried so desperately to warn her? Or the collector, in a twisted way, for giving her this gift even as it tried to take her? Or maybe just the universe for letting her keep her family, her life, her reality. The reflection didn't answer. It just smiled when she smiled. But sometimes, late at night, she'd catch glimpses in the dark screen of her tablet or the window glass. Not visions of the future this time, but something else. Children. Reflected children who were learning to be real again after so long in the gray place. She'd see them in windows and puddles and mirrors, taking hesitant steps back into the world, remembering how to exist outside of reflection. And sometimes, very rarely, she'd see him, the boy from the mirror, the one who'd mouthed the collector. He looked different now, more solid, more real. He'd smile at her from across impossible distances, a thank you without words. Amara started keeping a journal. Every vision she had, she wrote it down. Every warning she was able to give, every disaster she managed to prevent. At first, it was just for herself, to make sense of what was happening to her. But then, on the 6-month anniversary of the night they broke the mirror, something changed. She was brushing her teeth. In the bathroom now, she'd conquered that fear, when she saw movement in the mirror that wasn't her own reflection. Not the collector, nothing sinister. Just a presence, a sense of something watching. "Hello?" she said cautiously, her toothbrush pausing mid-scrub. The mirror's surface rippled slightly, like water disturbed by a pebble. And in that ripple, words formed in the condensation that shouldn't have been there. "Thank you." Then, not alone anymore. Amara's breath caught. "The other children? You can communicate with them?" The condensation shifted. "We are free because of you." "Where are you? Are you okay?" Learning to be real again. Hard, but okay. Some things we remember from the great place. Some things we can still do. We can help you, if you want. Amara thought about all the visions she'd been having, all the warnings she'd been giving. One small girl trying to prevent disasters she saw in fractured glimpses of possible futures. It was exhausting, overwhelming. How can you help? The words reformed. We see through reflections too now. All of us, everywhere. We can watch, warn, help you help others. A network of eyes. A gift for the girl who freed us. Over the next year, that's exactly what developed. Amara would wake up to messages written in bathroom condensation, in frost on windows, in the fog of her breath on cold mirrors. The freed children, scattered across the world, learning to live again, stayed connected through the reflections. And they watched. They warned her of a gas leak of her school 2 days before it would have exploded. They showed her a lost child wandering near a construction site. They revealed a friend's serious illness before symptoms appeared, in time for early treatment. Amara became known in her neighborhood as the lucky girl, always in the right place at the right time, always knowing just when to speak up or intervene. Her parents understood what was really happening, and they were terrified and proud in equal measure. "You have to be careful," Chioma warned her repeatedly. "People can't know about this. They'll think you're crazy or worse. Or they'll want to use her," Kene added darkly. "Study her, lock her up in some laboratory." "I know," Amara said. "I'm careful. I just say I have good instincts, that's all." But Chidi saw how tired she was getting, how the weight of all those warnings, all those prevented disasters was wearing on his little sister. "You can't save everyone," he told her one evening, finding her staring exhaustedly at her reflection. "It's not your responsibility to prevent every bad thing you see." "But I can see them, Chidi, if I can see them and I don't do anything." "Then they would have happened anyway, the way they always happened before you had this ability." "Amara, you're 8 years old. You shouldn't have to carry the weight of the world." She looked at him with eyes far older than her years. "I didn't ask for this, but I have it. What am I supposed to do? Ignore it?" He didn't have an answer for that. On the 1-year anniversary of breaking the collector's mirror, Amara woke at 3 a.m. exactly. Not from fear this time, but from a sense of summons. She walked to the bathroom. Her parents no longer tried to stop her from moving around at night, understanding she could handle herself now, and looked in the mirror. This time, it wasn't just words and condensation. This time, the mirror showed her something else entirely. A gathering. In a space that existed between all reflections, a space she recognized from her brief moment of being pulled toward the collector's realm. But it looked different now, not gray and lifeless, but shimmering with possibility. And in that space stood all of them, the freed children, dozens upon dozens of them from every era, every place. They were holding hands, forming a circle, and in the center of that circle was an empty space. For her. "What is this?" she whispered. The boy from the bathroom mirror, she'd learned his name was Thomas, and he'd been trapped in 1954, appeared beside her reflection in the bathroom mirror. He looked more solid than ever, almost real enough to step through. "We wanted to thank you properly," Thomas said, his voice somehow reaching her across the dimensional divide. "And we wanted to give you something." "Give me what?" "A choice." The mirror's surface rippled again, and suddenly Amara could see 2 paths stretching out before her. Not physical paths, but futures, possibilities. In one path, she kept the sight, kept the connection to the mirror network, spent her life preventing disasters, saving people, carrying the weight of future knowledge. She saw herself as a teenager, exhausted but determined. As an adult, renowned for her intuition, but isolated by her secret. Always watching, always warning, always responsible. In the other path, the free children took the connection back, severed her link to the mirror world. She would be normal again, just Amara Okafor, regular girl, living a regular life. No visions, no warnings, no weight, but also no ability to help, to save, to prevent the tragedies she would no longer see coming. "We can free you," Thomas said gently, "the way you freed us. We've learned enough about the mirror world to break your connection. You'd still remember everything that happened, but you wouldn't see anymore. You could just be a kid again." Amara stared at the 2 paths, her heart racing. To be free of this burden, this exhausting, endless responsibility, it was so tempting. To just play with her dolls, go to school, worry about normal things like homework and friends and what to have for dinner. But then she thought about the woman at the crosswalk, the gas leak at school, the lost child, all the small disasters she'd prevented, the lives she'd touched. "If you take it back," she asked slowly, "what will you do with it?" "We'll watch," Thomas said, "all of us, through every mirror, every reflection in the world. We'll try to warn people the way you've been doing, write messages, create signs, send dreams. We're getting better at influencing the real world. We can try to protect people." "But you're not really here in the real world. How effective can you be?" Thomas's smile was sad, not as effective as someone who's actually present, someone people can hear and touch and believe. But we'd do our best. Amara looked at the 2 paths again, freedom or responsibility, childhood or burden, normal or extraordinary. "There's no right answer," Thomas said. "Whatever you choose, we'll understand. You've already given us more than we could ever repay." For a long moment, Amara was silent. Then she thought about her parents, her brother, her life. She thought about being 7 years old when this started, just a little girl who wanted to see her missing tooth in the mirror at the wrong time. She thought about how terrified she'd been, how alone, how desperate for someone to believe her. And she thought about all the other children in the world who might, one day, look in a mirror at the wrong time, who might see something impossible, who might need someone who understood, who believed, who could help. "I'll keep it," she said finally, "but on one condition." "What condition?" "You help me. Not just with warnings and visions, but with finding others. If there are more mirrors like the collector's original mirror, more doorways, more creatures like it, I want to know, and I want to stop them before they trap anyone else." Thomas's eyes widened. "You want to hunt mirror entities? I want to protect people, kids especially, and I can't do it alone. But if we work together, me in the real world, you in the reflections, maybe we can make sure what happened to all of you never happens to anyone else." The circle of freed children in the between space began to glow. One by one, they nodded. Agreement, acceptance, purpose. "We'll be your eyes in the mirrors," Thomas said, his voice filled with something Amara recognized as hope. "You'll be our hands in the real world." "Deal." The mirror flashed bright, and Amara felt something settle into her bones, a connection deeper and stronger than before. Not just to the visions, to the network, to all of them. When she opened her eyes, it was morning. She'd been standing at the bathroom mirror for hours, though it had felt like minutes. Her parents were at the door, worried. "Amara, are you okay?" She turned to them and smiled, a real smile, not forced or tired. "I'm okay. Better than okay. I know what I'm supposed to do now." Over the next few years, Amara became something unique. To the outside world, she was just a bright, intuitive girl with an uncanny ability to be in the right place at the right time. But to those who knew, her family, and gradually a few others she trusted, she was something more. A guardian, a watcher, someone who stood between the mirror world and the real world, making sure the barrier stayed strong. The freed children kept their word. They watched through every reflection, reporting back when they sensed something wrong. And Amara investigated, sometimes just observing, sometimes intervening, always careful. They found 3 more collector-type entities over the years. Amara helped destroy their anchor mirrors, freeing the handful of children each had trapped. The network grew. She learned to balance it with normal life. She made friends, went to school, played soccer, had crushes, bought with Chidi, hoped her parents with dinner. She was still Amara Okafor, still a kid. Just a kid with an unusual part-time job. On her 12th birthday, she woke to find her bathroom mirror covered in messages from the freed children. Dozens of them from all over the world. "Happy birthday. Thank you. Still free because of you. You gave us back our lives." And in the center, in Thomas's familiar handwriting that had become like an old friend, 5 years free. Never forget. Amara smiled, touching the glass gently. "I won't forget, I promise." Because that was the thing she'd learned that night she'd first seen the girl in the mirror with black eyes. The thing she'd learned through all the fear and the visions and the weight of knowledge. Some things, once seen, can never be unseen. Some connections, once formed, can never be broken. And some responsibilities, once accepted, become part of who you are. She was Amara Okafor. She was 12 years old, she liked strawberry ice cream and hated mathematics and wanted to learn to play guitar. And she was the girl who could see through mirrors, who had freed the trapped children, who stood guard against the things that lived in reflections. All of those things were true. All of them were her. She looked at her reflection one last time before heading downstairs to her birthday breakfast. Her reflection looked back, moving exactly as she moved. But just for a moment, so brief she might have imagined it, her reflection winked. And Amara, who knew better than anyone that reflections were never just reflections, winked back. Because some mirrors were doorways, some reflections were alive, and some little girls who looked in mirrors at 3 a.m. didn't get trapped. Some of them became the ones who did the protecting instead. You might have been traumatized with this psychological story. Don't worry. Just don't look at the mirror 3 a.m. at night so you won't be trapped in the mirror by the collector. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and like this video. Then tell me where you are watching from. Thanks for watching.